Alright, hello and welcome. So, it's time to talk about Inaros. So I've been doing some testing with this Warframe. I've been doing a variety of things at a variety of levels. And it's time to talk about what exactly Inaros can do, because he's very, very good. So first let's just go over the abilities. Okay, so he's got Desiccation, Pocket Sand. Basically, you can throw this ability. It will stun enemies, blind them, and set them up for finishers in a pretty large duration that's affected by range, and also you get life back for damage dealt by this ability, and it's a really good opener, a really fantastic one. Definitely like in the top couple ones, like Atlas's one is up there. It's a real good one, super solid ability. Devour. So there are two parts to Devour. Devour is one, a stun that lasts a really long time if you had just a little bit of duration, really hard stun. You can do the actual Devour portion of this ability where you eat the enemy to gain a bunch of health back, and also allies can come up to enemies that you stunned with this and use Devour on them to heal themselves, which is kind of niche, but a nice bonus. And on top of all of that, if you kill an enemy with Devour, they turn into a sand shadow for you to have to fight with you for a little while, which is kind of a nice bonus. But I haven't found it to actually be very effective ever, and it's just kind of nice as an extra. Then we have Sandstorm. So Sandstorm is a really, really good crowd control ability once you give it a lot of range. Before then, it's pretty much only good in combination with Devour in order to give yourself, like, let's say you cast Devour on 3 dudes, and then you can Sandstorm them to turn them all into sand minions for you. It's kind of high energy, but that's pretty much what Sandstorm is for. The way that I use Sandstorm is that I can just... It's a good panic button, let's say that. Like a bunch of enemies run into the room that you weren't expecting, you hit Sandstorm, and then they're up in the air, and then you can drop them. They're all like knocked down on the ground, and then you can kind of back off and readjust your positioning if you need to. It's fantastic for that. And then we have Scarab Swarm. So Scarab Swarm is a little bit weird. It's a really weird ability that I have another like clip of some gameplay that I was doing that will kind of show more about how it was, how it does work. But we'll come to that. That'll be at the end of the video. I'll just tack that on at the end, so you can see how that works. But basically, the best way to show this is just to show it. So, whenever you hit 4, you hold it to start draining your health, and I believe it's 2,900 health to get yourself to 100%, and every time you use this ability, it uses 25%. But, also, the 100% extra is more base armor for Inaros. So, if you've got no steel fiber, you go from 200 to 400. And if you are using a steel fiber, like I am, I'm using steel fiber, so I'm at 420, you go to 620. I did think that it might be 840 for a little bit, but it's only 620 because this ability only affects your base armor, which is kind of unfortunate, but you're really fucking survivable because Inaros has this much health. A maxed vitality will give him 4,620 health, which is a lot. That's a lot of armor, or that's a lot of effective health. Like, it's significant. With 620 armor and 4,620 health, like, he's pretty hard to take down. Like, he's tough. He's a tough guy, along with his crowd control abilities and his abilities to heal and occasionally get himself just back from the dead, as it were. So, let's kind of go over that stuff. So, Inaros has 2 passives. His first passive is that when he dies, he goes into his sarcophagus, and if you kill 2 enemies worth of health, as in, like, from 100% to 0% of 2 enemies, then you will res, and you will just get back up with full health, which is really, really powerful in the early game. It's pretty much impossible to die if enemies are, like, really weak and not really like able to do much to you anyway, so you probably won't die anyway. Kind of a nice bonus. I don't see that sarcophagus a lot. It's really hard to die as Inaros because he's really tough and he has a lot of control. Second passive is really big for him because it's whenever you do finishers, you gain a bunch of your health back, which is really, really powerful and important for Inaros' sustain in the long run, and Also, the reason I'm using the Sheev here, which some of you might be wondering, is because the Sheev can use Covert Lethality and a bunch of other kind of utility-based mods, like Shattering Impact, and here's like Corrosive and Blast on it as well. So the reason that I'm using this is because his one set's up for finishers, which means Covert Lethality is a thing that you can use here to take out like big targets that you would otherwise not really be able to fight. Like, let's say, like a level, like 100 augmented armor bombard, sortie. Usually, that's going to be a really, like, big pain in the ass for you, but you can stun them, and then, like, go up behind them and just sheave them real good with Covert Lethality, and it's good at solving problems. That's why I'm using a dagger on Inaros, although he is really good with all melee weapons, as I found. It's just that I prefer more utility in being able to kill big targets and then worrying about the smaller targets with my 4 and my guns and such. Also, worth noting, is Kubrows. So Kubrows are actually really, really good with Inaros. And the reason for that is because he has such high health. My dog has about 7k health, and this isn't even, like, a tank dog. And, like, I don't even have, like, Link health is still 2 off max even. This makes your dogs, like, really, really hard to kill. So as long as, so if you're like someone who wants to use Kubrows, like Inaros is the fucking pet master. Your dogs are going to be pretty much impossible to take down, and especially if you're going to be using a lot of melee, if they've got that much health and you're going to be using pack leader, they're not going to die. It's not going to happen. Like, they might if, like, they go and just do something really stupid, but otherwise, it's just not going to happen. But anyway, let's get into this test. Of course, this is the build that I'm using. I'm only at like 130% efficiency, but I'm using Rage, so that whenever I get shot, I get a bunch of energy. Really effective. I've considered taking Streamline out a couple of times, but because I have kind of a combo that I like to do sometimes, which is a bunch of Devours on enemies, and then my 3, that costs a bit of energy, so I feel like the efficiency is pretty good here. And then also, worth noting, this is no Forma. I'm considering forming him, and what I will probably do is I'll probably end up in this Exilus slot putting Handspring, because being knocked down sucks, and then putting Prime Flow, and that would be all I would really do with him, I think, with some small consideration for dropping Streamline in favor of, like, maybe Firewalker or something. But let's just get to it, because this is going to be pretty simple for Inaros. And actually, I'm at 100% Scarab armor and, like, this much health, which is not really fair to the enemies. Also, I unequipped the dog, right? Yeah, okay. It's still there in my bar for some reason. Odd. Yeah, we'll just go as normal. He'll usually be topped off. I guess it's fine. Alright, so level 80. But yeah, Inaros is really hard to kill, and he's a tank, but he brings a lot to a team with his ability. Like, he can hard crowd control, like, large groups, while keeping himself, like, very much alive and at, like, the front of a battle, which is really amazing because it means that he's a really good protector in sort of more active game types, like survival. Whereas, like, Frost is really good in defense. Like, in survival, it's much more difficult to have Frost go around and be like a big defender. Sometimes that doesn't want to work. Inaros is really good at being, like, very active and moving around a lot, which is why I would consider Firewalker on him. And his setups and, like, ability to be safe is really strong. But yeah. Yeah. Here, let's pop my armor back to top. And let's just do another test, because there's a new level that we are allowed to get to. So for some reason, unbeknownst to me, they made some simulacrum changes that I'm actually not sure were in the patch notes. This at the bottom here is now saved, so we can do quick tests. It's super awesome. And also, they added 20 levels to the max level that we can test at, which is curious. But let's do it. Alright. You can see my finisher is giving me plenty of health. And the sheep being able to take out high priority targets. Also, interesting, you're actually immune while you are devouring. So you can get your health back pretty safely, as long as you've got an enemy to devour. This. His 4 also gives you a bunch of lifesteal. There you are. Alright. Now we're finally rid of that guy. Being able to use this for lifesteal is really good. And I think that's all of them. Yeah, a bit rougher on that one. But overall, still really good. He's really controlly. And he needs his weapons to do a lot of his damage, to be fair. But his kit is amazing for keeping himself alive. Also, we should probably illustrate, like, what happens when he dies and, like, all that shit. So, let's do that. Okay, so again, we'll just use level 135s to kill me, easy. Basically, you have to do 100 to 100%. You have to do 200% of any enemies, like any combination of enemy percentages of health, to heal yourself, which is really, really hard against these level 135s because your 1 doesn't scale. So up at this level, it's going to be impossible to revive, like almost certainly. Like it's going to be completely impossible to survive, because like I'm getting like a little bit, like you're gonna see it fill in a little bit. It's like a circle that goes around in the middle of my sarcophagus symbol there. Like it's not even filling up at all, and it's all these enemies here like around me, but like it just doesn't do any damage because the sarcophagus doesn't scale. But there is a really good way to show this. We can go to Grenier, and there is one Grenier enemy that will always spawn in at level 1. Oh, I think we passed it. Yeah, Regulators. So Frontier Regulators always spawn in at level 1. So we can spawn those guys in, and then also, where's like the regular heavy gunner? Drakar's fine. So these guys will be here, and then also there's that heavy gunner there. So we can have her kill us. Come here. Come over here and kill me. Please. Please. Come on. Please. I'm gonna come up near you. Can you kill me? Thank you. Okay, so these guys are like early levels, so I just immediately get back up. Because I just have to kill 2 enemies. That's all I have to do. Also, this thing has good range. I think I can actually hit those guys over there. Yep. But yeah, in early levels, like, Inaros is pretty much impossible to kill. Like, because you'll be able to get 2 enemies, like, pretty regularly. But in the later levels, obviously, Sarcophagus ain't gonna save you. It's not gonna happen. Also, he has a couple different animations for respawning, which are kind of fun. Oh, does this extra scale up as time goes on? Did I need more? Did I need more than 2 that time? I don't think I did. I think I needed more than 2 that time. Huh, maybe the more you die, it goes up more. I don't die very often, so I actually haven't tested this like 100%. But anyway, you can basically see how it works. You have to do a bunch of damage. Huh. I guess it scales up the more you die, though, until you actually do die, which makes sense. It's maybe not totally impossible to die at early levels, but pretty fucking hard. Anyway, yeah, that's Inaros. Inaros is fucking amazing. He's really good. And I told you I was going to leave you off with some ways that Scarab Swarm works, so we'll just cut to that, because that was in today's sortie, and that was really awesome. But because there's not going to be like a goodbye at the end of that episode, I'll see you guys tomorrow, or at the end of that episode, at the end of that video, this video. Anyway, see ya. "30-second warning, that's not good."